The spectacled lady at the kennel told me the whole gruesome story. How Kitty Purry's previous owner was a guy in his late 50s who lived alone in a 5th-floor apartment. Turns out that he was a bit of a recluse. So when he went MIA, nobody took a notice. After several residents complained about the smell, the landlady had no choice but to call the authorities. Police bust down the door and found Kitty Purry curled up in the man's lap. But something was wrong. Turns out he died several weeks earlier by heart attack. It was completely unexpected. And left with nothing else to eat, Kitty Purry chewed and scraped through his skin with her teeth and claws. According to the report, by the time officers arrived, the flesh had been completely stripped from his skull. Poor faceless bastard. Kitty Purry got dumped at a kennel where nobody would adopt the unfortunate feline. It makes sense, I guess, if your 7-year-old daughter begged you for a cute kitty. You probably wouldn't choose one that chewed a man's nose off. The workers told me if she didn't find a home soon, they'd have to put her down, and I wasn't about to let that happen. No way, no how. After all, it wasn't her fault. She got locked in an apartment with no food. Things started off great. Kitty Purry was real affectionate and super playful. She'd chase balls of tinfoil across the floor for hours on end, which I found greatly amusing. There was just one problem. She was a very, very fussy eater. I tried everything. Hard food, soft food, hard food with the juice of soft, tuna, chicken, salmon. The list goes on and on. She turned her nose up at all of it. I took her to the vet, who confirmed there were no stomach or digestive issues, and recommended I try a pheromone spray or medication. Nothing worked. I was seriously worried that Kitty Purry would just refuse to eat until she eventually starved to death. But then one morning, I got startled awake. Beneath the sheets, I felt a sharp pain in my left foot. Kitty Purry was down there, tearing a gash out of my big toe. It looked like it had been flayed. She licked her lips as blood sprayed across the mattress. And lying there, I realized the reason she wouldn't eat was because the food I'd provided was inadequate. She acquired a taste for flesh. Human flesh. Dead or alive, it made no difference. I suddenly knew what I had to do. And that brings us to the present day. Could I be charged with murder? The answer is no. Absolutely not. Could you maybe make a case for kidnapping or false imprisonment? Sure, I'll give you that. But remember, all I did was tie the victims down. I never actually killed anybody. However, if you'd ask me whether Kitty Purry was a murderer, well, that'll just be our little secret. I like it out here, George, Lenny said. It's all so peaceful like.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
You know what it reminds me of, Lenny continues.
I don't.
All that corn over there on that side of the tracks, it reminds me of Children of the Corn.
That Stephen King novel.
Yeah, but more the movie than the novel.
I can see that.
They both looked out across the cornfield, watching the stalks sway lazily in the breeze.
That movie, it weren't very peaceful though.
Nah, I guess you're right about that. They sat quietly for a spell, taking in the corn and the breeze, the warmth of the setting sun, and the sounds coming to being alone in the great outdoors. Say, George.
What, Lenny?
What time did you get up this morning?
6 o'clock.
And what number comes before 7? George looked askance at his friend.
6.
That's right, George. Just call them out when you know. And what time is it right now? George looked at his watch.
It's 6 o'clock.
That's right, 6 o'clock.
What are you getting at, Lenny?
Think about it for a minute. 6, 6, and 6. George looked confused, so Lenny helped him out. It's the mark of the beast, George. It means the devil.
Oh, I get it. The devil.
George picked up a long piece of grass and stuck it in his mouth.
Like that movie.
Yeah, George, like the movie. And you know what else it means?
Nah, George. What else?
It being 6 o'clock and all. It means the 6:15 out of Stillwater ought to be by in just a few minutes. No sooner had he spoken the words, they heard the 6:15 blast its horn from not too far up the tracks. Right on time, Lenny said, and they both turned in anticipation of seeing the train come around the bend. You feel it rumbling, George, under your feet.
I feel it.
I like that feeling. Makes me feel like I'm part of all that power somehow.
Yeah, me too.
Just then, the powerful and mighty engine of the 6:15 showed itself from behind the trees just up the tracks. It blew its horn again. It sounded much louder this time, so loud the boys could feel the sound in their bodies. Yet they stood still, mesmerized at the sight of the powerful engine drawing near. Finally, Lenny spoke up loudly. You think we ought to get off the tracks?
Yeah, probably. But what about her?
The boys both looked down at Curly's wife sprawled between the rails. The angry wounds from where George had struck her with the 2x4, having consumed her entire forehead.
Shouldn't we get her too?
George asked. Nah, just leave her. Let the train do its work. 'Cause guys like us, we'd spend the rest of our lives in jail if they found us in her company. Her being in that condition, and all.
Yeah, you're right.
The boys stepped off the tracks and watched as the train sped on by. When you buy designer, you're getting more than just a name. It's not even just the quality. It's legacy, a status. It's the invitation to a secret club, members only. You see each other on the street, wearing Prada or Gucci or Versace, and you lock eyes, and you nod, because you both know. You're in a different class. You're a cut above the trudging masses. Of course, it's not easy to buy designer on a budget, but that's why consignment stores exist. I'm on all the online shops. You have to be, if you want to snatch up a deal. Most people have a type. For some, it's handbags. For others, it's watches. My weakness, shoes. And when I saw those red stilettos from Sandin, I had to have them. God, they were gorgeous. I practically squealed when I found the package waiting for me. Genuine Sandin heels, can you believe it? Supposedly, they only make 100 pairs a year, and here I was, lucky enough to get my hands on one that was practically like new, and at a price that was downright sinful. If I didn't do so much research into the consignment boutiques I frequent, I'd be worried they were counterfeit. Well, they fit great, not exactly comfortable, but what's beauty without pain? I modeled them with a few choice outfits and promised myself I'd find an excuse to wear them over the weekend. As I was slipping them from my feet, I felt a sharp prick on my finger.
Oh.
Carefully, setting down my new favorite shoes, I took a look at my hand. My finger was bleeding quite profusely. Wincing, I rinsed it, revealing a neat, deep slice. For a moment, I stared, What could have caused it? Well, accidents happen. I dried my hand and applied a bandage, then went downstairs to eat dinner. As I munched my salad, I browsed the internet. I like to find the exact item I bought so I could see what it was worth brand new. The funny thing was, I hadn't been able to find this pair of shoes in the Sandin catalog. In fact, it didn't look like Sandin sold any red shoes. Maybe they were just a special edition. I dug deeper into the Google search, scrolling to find an answer. And I did. It turns out, Sandin only ever made one pair of stilettos. They were white. I found this tidbit in an article about their owner, who'd killed herself, bleeding out in the bathtub. Suddenly, a sound drew my attention to the ceiling. A slow, deliberate tapping, like someone walking across the room above. Someone walking in thin, stiletto heels.
Please subscribe, or the toxic skull will come for you.